Welcome, everybody. My name is Stuart McGill from Micro Focus, and this webinar is concentrating on the legacy transformation journey. And in this webinar, it's about getting from where customers are running their businesses today to how they're going to run them into the future. And I'm lucky to be joined by Rick Truesdale from Infosys to share in this discussion. Once again, Rick, perhaps you could just briefly introduce yourself before we start.
So this is Rick Truesdale. I'm the director for Legacy Modernization for the Americas for Infosys. Spearheading the initiatives, something that we've been doing for many years, dating back to the early 80s. And over the past, several years, we've actually created a center of excellence around exactly this practice. And we work kind of hand in hand with the likes of Micro Focus in these activities. So thanks for, John, inviting me to join you on this call.
As you suggest, we've been working together for many years. We typically see many customers throughout any one of those times. We see a significant number now looking to really transform their legacy applications that underpin the business of today. What's the basic model that Infosys would use really to get started in exploring with customers how to take on this journey?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways, Stuart, that we engage and how we help them get started. Number one, the more traditional historic way is where organizations have come to us and, they say they have applications or systems that they would like to take advantage of, a rehosting type of scenario or transformation scenario. That involves and constitutes, analysis so we can understand what the whole landscape, involves, because there's a lot of things that they just don't know, all the way through to, the transformation itself. What I'm seeing more specific and more of frequencies right now is more from a strategic perspective, and that basically means kind of understanding and aligning strategically with where the organizations are driving towards. What are they communicating with Wall Street? I mean, it's becoming kind of a Wall Street kind of analyst conversation where, we're falling behind the trend lines and we need to engage. So engaging from a strategic standpoint, aligning, bringing in industry best practices as well as legacy modernization best practices, and then bringing the technologies that Micro Focus has matured over 40 some odd years from an understanding as well as an execution perspective to take them through that transformation journey. That transformation journey never is just one thing. It can be simply rehosting. It can involve other modernization paths, but it does involve and constitute a whole host of different things. And that's why I say, how do we engage collectively? It's leveraging the technology accelerators that Micro Focus has matured over many years, as well as the expertise that our team collectively brings to the table.
And don't you think that because we've got this expertise and because we've been working together for so long, that although conversations may start at a strategic level, we're more than capable of actually delivering much faster than we could in the past. Hence, that link between starting a journey and actually delivering something of value to customers is much shorter than it used to be, or at least it's much shorter to manage the complexity and deliver a meaningful result. Have you got some experience of customers that you can help us with in terms of how Infosys has taken that customer on a journey?
Yeah. So a few, again, across the different industry sectors, we're seeing that with the banking centers are going through a lot of these transformation journeys. The insurance sectors are going through a lot of these journeys, as well as, other manufacturing industries. A lot of that has to do with, skills that are retiring out. It's got to do with, cost savings. It's got to do with agile. And so one of the case scenarios of late that can make reference to is that, number one, they're looking at kind of extracting the rules. So going through the analysis using Micro Focus analysis tools to bring those understandings out, extracting that into a rules format that we would then, in this particular case, move into like a data warehouse, a rules engine, wrapping API layers around it, et cetera. So the tooling and the technologies are very advantageous to kind of achieving those levels. Now, the insurance sector especially is seeing this kind of a trend across the board. This is not just any one, but a lot of them looking at self-driving cars and looking at other things that are becoming new and transformative as far as where the industry is going. So they're having to kind of rework and rethink through their entire processes. So the analysis piece is becoming extremely critical. As you mentioned, we've gotten better and better at it over the years. The technology, the accelerators that are behind that have gotten better and better over the years. And we're leveraging that to a fantastic end to do some of these more transformative things from a kind of a cloud rules data warehousing kind of scenario. And we also have, the rehosting scenario also is becoming very relevant, where they're looking to move completely to the cloud. That could possibly start out as a kind of a rehosting scenario, which could also live within the cloud as well. One of the analytics organizations that we're working with right now is completely shutting down their system, and we're moving it to a legacy box of our own as we kind of transform in our rehosting scenario to the cloud that they're looking to move to. So we've got a number of case studies that we're doing across the different industry sectors that are kind of speak to what you're referring to now.
I think in our experience, it's that ability to take the business model, the business process that's wrapped up in these applications, and actually literally export them to a more, a better platform. Whether that means that the company can become more agile, whether it means that they're able to globalize exactly what they're doing, or even localize what they're doing. It means that the core business applications become the asset that most companies have always wanted them to be. And this journey to hybrid IT is a way of not just saving money, as you were touching on, but it's actually at its core moving the business process that really is important to all of our customers into a position where it can do whatever our customers want it to do. So how does Infosys actually engage with the customer at the first stage of delivering, beginning this journey, understanding the journey, and exploring what it really means specifically in a case study?
So the way Infosys engages, I kind of look at it as like three different tiers. So number one, there's basically the what I would consider the more tactical approach, where they've got something in mind, they've already kind of planned through it, and they want to effectively rehost or re-architect or do something at the actual ground level. Now, even though I say tactical, I mean, it's still a very strategic mindset, because you don't take the backbone of an organization's systems and move it from one place to another without it having some form of a strategic lever attached to it. The thing there is going to be working with the customer to help them kind of make that connection and justify that business case. So, and this is, looking back to, 30, 40 years, that conversation is something we've done many times over. So we've talked to them about, doing kind of a transformation or rehost of some shape or form. The other level, and again, I think it's because of where the industry is migrating and moving towards, where it's becoming much more of a transformative conversation, is at the line of business or at the organizational level, where, they say, hey, we've got to do something. All of our people are retiring out. We're not agile enough. We can't go to market quickly enough to compete with those in the marketplace. There's a host of different reasons that they're going down this transformation journey, and we need to engage at that level. And that typically means, getting aligned from a strategic standpoint on what their business objectives and drivers are, looking holistically across that application landscape to figure out what makes sense, and using the analysis tools as well as other accelerators that we have to really understand the as is and plan what the future state would look like. Future state meaning, what's the disposition analysis of all the stuff that we want to go after and where we want to take it. Again, no one size fits all, so everything is not just one thing or the other. There are best dispositions for everything. Some stuff makes sense on the mainframe, some stuff makes sense in the cloud, some stuff makes more sense into a SaaS platform, etc. So when I say the three different levers that we engage on is more at a tactical level, where we help them kind of align it strategically with organizational objectives and take a specific approach to something specific they're asking us for. The other two are more strategically focus at the line of business or organizational and putting kind of a program in place to help them get where they want to be. So, those are kind of fundamentally the three different levels of engagement that we go after.
And from a Micro Focus perspective, we're often drawn into a modernization project by actually exploring how the technology can actually support the legacy applications today and actually showing them in the cloud, operating in the cloud, supported from the cloud, developed from the cloud, tested on the cloud. So often, although we come at a project from a slightly different angle, we're essentially showing customers that the perceived risk of migrating to an alternative future is much less than they ever thought before. Plus the fact it's really showing the true capability of all of the potential that can be delivered through a transformational journey. Now, obviously this involves a lot of products underneath the covers. They're largely irrelevant in the overall conversation, other than actually being able to deliver their customer choice as to exactly where they want the applications to execute, what business processes they want to continue with, what they want to modernize, what they want to cut out, and indeed, how can they just accelerate their business to make sure that these core business processes can work at the pace that their customers actually expect. Therefore, it's not just around delivering, for example, a mobile application that gives access into a company. It's really about how added value can be delivered throughout the business process, is it not?
Completely agree with you, Stuart. And again, kind of in concluding remarks here, one of the things I want to make sure that we leave the audience with is that, legacy transformation today is a completely different conversation than it has been in the past. It's not just simply one size fits all. It's not just a rehost. It's not shutting down the mainframe to move to someplace else. It's really taking advantage of the best technologies, the best landscapes out there across the board for each respective application as it applies to your organization. So we're not looking to, and we don't advise and we don't recommend looking to completely migrate away from the mainframe, because we all realize that mainframes have value, tremendous value on a number of different fronts. So it's more about how can we bring the best across the board from best practices, best technologies, best landscapes to serve your needs. So that's one point that I have to explain all the time, and I think it's something we need to make sure that people understand.
Thanks very much, Rick.
Thank you, Stuart.